Hey guys, hope you enjoyed our last episode with the incredible Carrie Buck. Are you watching the Australian Open? I surely am. I love watching the slams. I will admit that I'm not the most avid follower of the professional tours. I don't watch all the tournaments and follow all the players, but I love watching the Grand Slams. It's always so fun. The matches just tend to be better, the stakes are obviously higher, and I will also confess that I am a sucker for just seeing the different outfits the players will wear, especially on the women's side, of course. I think that's just another thing that makes tennis special, is that it's one of the few sports in which players will make a fashion statement on the court. I think Venus, Serena, Sharapova, Federer, Nadal, and of course Agassi have some of the most iconic looks in history that we will always remember. On the tour today, probably Osaka and Goff are the players making interesting and fun fashion choices. I think it's great. It's like a timestamp in tennis history. They're always memorable, whether you like them or not, and they are fun for the sport, for the player, and just a great marketing move from the brands that sponsor those athletes. My favorite one ever is the Serena cat suit. I love, love, love it. I thought it was so bold, different, and actually functional with the compression for the legs. And I was disappointed that it got banned by the French Open. Anyway, speaking of Australia, this week we actually have an Aussie guest, Chris Gale, who is having a fresh start as the new Director of Racquets at Bent Tree Country Club in Dallas, Texas. Chris is a gracious guest, and you will love hearing from him, I have no doubt. He's also Jared Chirico's partner in crime in the Directors Club of America. I know we have been mentioning the DCA quite a bit in the last few episodes, and that's simply because I myself joined the DCA and have been connecting with these amazing leaders in our industry. So shout out to them and our fellow members. If you would like to support the show, the easiest way to do this is by sharing these episodes with your peers, either directly or even better, via social media. You can find Vida Tennis on Facebook, Instagram, and myself, Jennifer Gelhaus, on LinkedIn. Also, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out when new episodes come out. Get ready to hear from one of the best out there, only here at Vida Tennis. Enjoy! Welcome to Vida Tennis, the podcast for those of us who eat, sleep, breathe tennis. I'm your host, Jennifer Gelhaus, and today we welcome Chris Gale to the podcast. Chris is about to embark on a new role as Director of Racquets at Bent Tree Country Club, and he's a partner in the Directors Club of America. He has over 25 years of experience leading rackets programs at private clubs like Palm Desert Tennis Club in California, Chatham Beach and Tennis Club in Massachusetts, the Dunes Club in Rhode Island, the Duxbury Yacht Club in Massachusetts, and most recently at River Oaks Country Club in Texas. Chris serves as a consultant for clubs nationwide, specializing in staff development and rackets program rejuvenation, and he holds certifications in tennis, pickleball, and platform tennis from PTR and RSPA. Woo! Chris, how are you today? You've done a lot.
That was good, Jennifer. You wrapped that up perfectly. No, everything is good. It's an exciting time. As you said, I've accepted a role in Dallas at an amazing club called Bent Tree Country Club. Really excited to get in there and just bring that level of programming to something that hopefully they've never experienced before. You know, I feel very fortunate, Jennifer, as you mentioned. I'm at River Oaks Country Club now. I've been here for 5.5 years, and you know it's interesting. I've been reflecting over the last 2 or 3 days about what it is that has happened here, how things have happened here, and what has grown, what has developed, and I'm really proud of it. You know, so it's one of those things where I think your goal is always to leave a place better than you found it, right? And I feel quite confident and comfortable that has transpired, and now I'm ready to do the same thing at another amazing club with an amazing membership.
Yeah, and both great clubs, great places to be at for sure. But I like to always start with just how this whole thing started for you. Some of us fall into it later after college. Very few tennis professionals know when they're in high school or college that this is what they want to do. So how did this all come about for you?
It goes back to me as a child in the west coast of Australia, just falling in love with tennis. I just couldn't get enough of it. I was a junkie. I played all the time. I watched it all the time, all the latest equipment. I just wanted to know everything, right? And I got pretty good at playing. And I was 15 or 16, and my coach at the time was like, look, do you want to become a professional tennis player? And I said, well, of course I want to become one, but I'm not going to. I know I'm not going to cut it. And he said, well, that's good, because that's a conversation that I was going to have with you. So you prevented me from having to have that hard conversation, right? And he goes, well, look, I like you. Your personality around people is amazing. So why don't I teach you how to teach? So at 16, I started teaching while I was still playing. But, I'd go to school, and I'd come out of high school. I'd go teach juniors, and then I would train after I taught the juniors. So he taught me how to teach at 16. I fell in love with it. And I was in Australia still until I was 19. I went to college there, and I was studying kinesiology and human movement biomechanics. College just wasn't my thing. I wasn't enjoying it and loving it, even though I loved the subjects. It was amazing. So I'm really fortunate, Jennifer. I was born in the US, so I have dual citizenship. So at 19, I stopped college or university in Australia, and I said, I'm going to go to the US and pursue. I want to try and play, and I definitely want to teach, and I want to get into the coaching industry and into the rackets or tennis industry at that junction. So I didn't have enough money to buy my ticket from Australia to the US. So now I'm going to age myself. So I sold my CD collection so that I could get enough money to get my ticket. I came over, and I was 19 years old, and I started teaching. I taught at this summer camp, and things just fell into place. I met people. I got a job in Boston at the end of that summer. And for me, though, Jennifer, that was arguably one of my most important positions, because I wasn't a tennis pro or a tennis professional. I was the activities director, and which meant that every social event I ran, and I could teach around those social events, but it was made very clear that the on-court teaching was not my priority. And all I wanted to do was teach. That was plain and simple, Yeah. So, but it was a club that had about 8,000 members. And it was one of those things, though, where when I first started the events, there was like 12 people that came. And I got percentages of the gross revenues and things like that. So it taught me to get in front of people. It taught me to walk around that club and see people and say, what are you doing Friday night? Why aren't you coming to our mixer? Why aren't you coming to this? Well, you should be coming. So eventually went from like 12 people to 48 and 60 people coming to these events, So at 19, first and foremost, I was putting myself in front of people and just saying, come on, let's go. You need to be coming to this. Second of all, I was literally in front of, 60 people running these events. So getting the confidence to be in front of big groups of people and direct traffic and tell them where to go. And it was a really good experience. But also because of that, everyone wanted to take lessons with me because they were so familiar with me in a social environment. That once I got talking about tennis, they were like, well, we want to get on the court with you. So then my lesson book got really, really big. So it was really, really fortunate. But that was a commercial club. It was a fitness and health club with a lot of tennis courts. And I moved out to Southern California when I was 21. It's a long story that I won't go too deep into. I'm happy to, because there was a lot of like challenges that I needed to get through to get this position. But I got really fortunate. I got a director of tennis position at 21 years old at Palm Desert Tennis Club. It's a small club. It's a private club. And it was a really, really sleepy program. I had nothing else to do but just give major, major energy and just try and do everything I could to build this program up. So at 21, I got my first director of tennis position. And even at that age, I knew the value of that. I knew the value of having on my resume, Chris Gale has director of tennis experience. And that was going to get my foot in the door at interviews moving forward. So yeah, I'm 40. Yeah, it was awesome. So I'm 49 years old now. So for 28 years, I've been in a leadership role, and I've had the opportunity to just grow into bigger and bigger roles throughout my career. So that's the long story short of where I am now, and I came to River Oaks in 2019, been here for 5.5 years. And I think that everyone thought, well, that's the place where Chris will retire. And I've been really proud of the achievements here at River Oaks Country Club, and Bentry Country Club reached out, and there was a need for what it is that I do best. And so I'm looking forward to Don't know what will be the end of my career at Bentry Country Club. I think that everyone says that, but I'm just really looking forward to getting there and doing my thing, to be honest with you.
Did you have like a dream job when you first started?
Yeah. Yeah, I had
Well,
3 jobs. I had 3 jobs. I had 3 places that I wanted to be, right? There was the Olympic Club in San Francisco. There was the Country Club in Brookline, Massachusetts. And then there's River Oaks Country Club in Houston, Texas. So,
no way.
uh-huh. Yep. So I achieved my dream, or I achieved like what I considered the pinnacle. It's been an amazing pinnacle of my career, but there's still one more step up, right? And I'm going to exploit that, and well, not exploit that. I'm going to enjoy that, and it's going to be an amazing time.
Yeah. And what motivates you to keep going and going to a different club? Like, what motivates you today? Because obviously you've been at amazing clubs.
Yeah, I have been very lucky. I love the clubs that I've been at, and with every club that I've been at, the membership's been amazing. It just makes or breaks the experience, right? So I've been really fortunate with that. So they've all been extremely positive experiences, but the motivation is, I could roll through and continue to manage River Oaks Country Club, stay ahead of the curve industry-wise. Don't be an industry standard director, be an industry leading director. And that's what I'm going to do no matter where I'm at. As I said, I'm 49 years old. I have so much gas left in the tank. I have so much drive. I have so much motivation. The thought of going in to a club and following the footsteps of an extremely respected, esteemed director that had an extremely long tenureship there and saying, greatness has been here. Now we're going to take it to the next level. I think there's something really exciting about that, and whether it's your driving force is revenues, whether your driving force is member experience, whether your driving force is what am I going to do with this team, with this staff? How am I going to rejuvenate it? How am I going to bring it together? There's challenges that lay ahead. And before we started this, I said, look, I'm wrapping things up here. I'm about to start things in Dallas at Bentry and basically start a new business. And that's kind of how it's going to be. So that's a driving, motivating factor, right? And I think that the other thing is, Jennifer, is that I don't think enough rackets professionals, whether they're in a leadership role or a on-court dominant teaching role, I don't think that we realize the lives that we touch and the extent of the lives that we touch. There's 1,500 families at River Oaks Country Club. It's a recreational area. It's a place where they come in their spare time or their recreation time to enjoy themselves. How flattering is that? How amazing is that? That's the people that come to us, So they only come and they only continue to come if they're enjoying it. So you're having this amazing impact on people's valuable part of their life, which is their recreation time. So because they can do anything, they can choose to do anything, but they're choosing to come to you. So how flattering is that? So there's so many things that are a drive and a motivation. It's touching the lives of the people that are the members of the club, the staff, and growing and developing them and giving them the tools and the knowledge to achieve their goals. And doing that within your club and doing that across the industry, those are motivating factors, such big motivating factors.
Yeah. And how have you known in your career, like you've been at great clubs, some longer than others. And as you know, in our industry, it happens a lot where like a pro will be there for 20 years, 30 years, which is, it's a long time. I guess if you love it, you love it. And, why not continue down that road? But how do you approach that? Like, how have you known when it's time to move on to the next challenge? Just not necessarily this particular situation you're in now, but just, throughout your career.
Yeah, I think that, there's simplicity behind it and there's complexities behind it, right? So the simplicity is that, well, there's a more premier club with a more premier opportunity to grow and a more premier facility. It's so basically what you're looking at is that when an opportunity presents itself, am I moving up? And am I moving up in a geographical area that I want to be in? Like, there's areas in the country that I'm sorry, it would probably be a move up, but I just don't want to live in that area of the country. And I feel fortunate that I have lived in a lot of different areas. So the geography of where a great opportunity comes up is one driving factor. The other is, have I achieved what I want to achieve at this club, and am I going to maintain it, or is it still got room for more growth and development, or is this it? And it should never be this is it. You should always be finding a way to make it bigger, better, and more dynamic. But I think that I always have goals when I come into a club, and each club is different because the needs of each club is different as well. So coming into a club and to a program and saying, okay, I'm going to assess what this club truly needs, achieving those goals. Some of them are short term, some of them are mid range, and some of them are long range goals. But achieving them and making sure that should it be a departure from that club, that I've achieved those goals, and every loose end that it is that I want tied up, and every aspect of the program that needed to get booming and thriving, I've achieved that. And then it's like, okay, what's the next? What's the next challenge? Where is it, and how big is it, and is it going to be the right cultural fit for me? And am I the right cultural fit for it? And if that's the case, boom, let's do it.
Yeah. And what about seasonal jobs? You've worked at a couple seasonal clubs in the Northeast. How did you like it? One, and two, how would you compare that experience to being at a year-round job?
That's a really good question, because I think the seasonal positions, I think, are just an amazing platform to grow your career, to grow your brand. And it's just a tidal wave of activity, right? Like Memorial Day through Labor Day. It just seems like as soon as those, in between those two dates, it's like, all right, let's go. This is go time, and I'll come up for a breath of air after Labor Day, maybe, because the programs get bigger and bigger, it seems the seasons do. But it's like this frenzy of activity. It's a frenzy of club usage. And I always used to talk to my friends, when I was at Chatham or the Dunes Club or the Duxbury Yacht Club. When I initially got there, they were just summer positions. And they're like, how are you doing? I'm like, tidal wave I'm in the middle of the tidal wave right now. And the big difference is that it's intense. It's really intense. And the members just utilize that club as often as they can, because the seasonality usually has something to do with weather, right? So it's nice weather, it's summer, people just want to be outdoors doing their thing. And then I compare that to a year-round club. Houston, it gets so hot in the summer that's our quiet time. But from third week of August, when kids go back to school, through till the last week of June, that's my tidal wave. So it's a 10-month tidal wave instead of a 10-week or a 12-week tidal wave. So it's intense. Yeah, it's the intensity is there, but that's also the opportunity that you have, Jennifer, to have the volume and the number of staff to support it. So you're not, what I found is that the seasonal clubs, and I really think it's changing, and I hope it is, the director just did so much, because the staff was not usually seasonal with that director, and also not quite as tenured in the industry. And the director was doing huge on-court hours, everything off-court, managing the pro shop, doing every special event. And by the end of the summer, you're just exhausted. So I think that trend is changing. You're not seeing as many directors in that seasonal position still teaching 34, 40 hours a week. They're doing a little less, bigger staff, more dynamic staff, and they're able to delegate a little bit more. So, but the big difference is just the length of intensity. I have no problem saying that literally, like a week ago, it started to get a little bit quieter here with the holidays coming around. And I was running on fumes from that third week of August with our ladies boot camp for teams through till our last special event that we had. I'm exhausted mentally, physically. It's like a lot goes into it, and it just doesn't stop. And then that's just the program. But then you've got a staff that you're managing. So you lump it all in. I think that's the biggest difference, is just the length of intensity.
Yeah, and I think, maybe it is changing, but what you said is so true. You end up getting staff that might not be as experienced, because the people that are really in it are probably teaching somewhere where they're needed in the summer. So you're kind of looking at college students or people that are really young that are still kind of figuring out where they want to be, what they want to do. So it can be really tough to have continuity with staff from summer to summer. So that's definitely a challenge, I think, for any seasonal job, is that continuity in staff. Yeah.
There's no doubt. But I used to embrace it, Jennifer, and say, this is amazing. I have the opportunity to create an experience for this 20-year-old college student who's clearly passionate about tennis. They're playing a 4-year Division I college team, getting their degree, but in the summers, they want to utilize their skill set on a tennis court as a rackets professional. It's like, I want to harbor this. I want to hone this, and I want to mentor these guys or girls and say, look, this is a true career. What you're seeing is just a little glimpse of it during this time that you're here at whatever seasonal club it is. But I want to inspire you and motivate you and drive you to want to be in this industry, because that to me is one of the greatest things that we can do as a leader is bring through the next wave of professionals and next wave of leaders. So I actually really enjoyed having those younger, passionate, driven professionals. It was like molding clay, and some you could figure out really quickly. They were just in it to make the money for summer to get back to college so that they had enough money. Others were
Yeah.
in it because they loved it. And over the last 20 years, 20 plus years, it's great that so many of these students, athletes that came and worked with me are still in the industry. I think that to me is like just a huge achievement. And that's just embracing that, not thinking, okay, I want to make this fun for you and enjoyable and financially rewarding for you, so you come back next summer. I want you
Yeah.
to come back for 4 summers that you're in school and then go into this industry and make it a career.
Yeah. And what about when you were a director, like on the Cape and stuff? What were you doing the rest of the year? Were you teaching somewhere else, or were you
Yeah.
just kind of chillaxing?
Yeah, I wish I was chillaxing. Clearly, my jobs weren't big enough, but no, it was good. I enjoyed it because I would make a great source of revenue in the summers, and I could teach. I primarily taught at indoor clubs. Like for a large percentage of my time at Duxbury Yacht Club, I was at Yonkers Tennis Center in New York, which was just this absolute beast of an indoor club. A couple of other indoor clubs in the Northeast. For a while there, I actually came down to Houston for one winter and taught at Houston Country Club. But the good thing, Jennifer, is that I didn't feel the pressure to have to work so much in those other 8 months of the year, because the other 4 months financially rewarded me to a point where I didn't need to be on the court 30 hours a week, 40 hours a week. So it was good for my body, it was good for my mind, and it was good to just kind of get myself ready again for that next tidal wave for the next summer.
Yeah. And are you still on the court a lot, or what does a day look like for you? How much are you teaching nowadays?
10 hours a week is actually what I'm capped at. It's one of those things. You look at every aspect of being a leader in this industry. You look at every aspect of being a leader at a club, and then you look at every aspect of being a leader at a big club. To me, we're directors of rackets. I've enjoyed the progression from being a head pro to director of tennis to director of rackets. I think that the next progression is CEO of rackets. The amount of reports, the amount of financials, the amount of budgeting, the amount of CapEx projects, small projects, beautification of areas, staff development, staff management. The list goes on and on and on and on, doesn't it? Merchandising. If you have a merchandiser, merchandising management, it's hard to say, okay, I'm going to teach 30 hours and then do all of this on top of it. I joke with people, but it's not a joke, right? I say, look, I have a to-do list, and there's some days where I'm like, oh my gosh, I have 1 hour on the court. I'm going to get so much of this to-do list done, and then what you don't recognize is the intangibles that come across your desk or come across you on a daily basis that take time. And it takes time because majority of the time it involves a person, one of your staff members or one of your team. So I take great pride in that if there is a need of someone on the team, I'm going to take care of that need, because this team, I never say my team, but the rackets team here at River Oaks and at Bentry is your greatest asset. So they need to be happy, healthy, balanced, motivated, driven, wanting to move towards a common goal as a team. And if that breaks down, then my workload goes through the roof. So I hope that answers your question. But for me on a daily basis, I'll teach a few hours. Maybe there's a day that's a little busier than other days, and so I'll teach 1 or 2 hours most days. And then on Wednesdays, today is a busier day. I have like 5 hours on the court. But I think that the management is really, really key. But it's not just managing what is current. It's having like our calendar for 2025 is fully set, and it's fully set with all of the gifts that we're going to give everyone that participates in it, all the prizes, all the food, all the catering is all done for 2025, but that's done in March of 2024. So there's the long range planning so that I'm not last minute planning things. Everything is fully mapped out with a timeline. So it's all about preparation so that the things that I'm not expecting don't throw a huge wrench in the works. I can kind of take it in my stride.
Yeah. And would you say that your members, how do they react if you say, oh, I'm not available. We have a great staff. Because some people are very particular. They may have that perception that, everybody else sucks. The directors who want who I should be taking a lesson with, which of course is not true. How have you approached that to be able to save the time to obviously give your staff hours, but also save the time so that you can get all the other things done?
Yeah, I think it's a precedent that gets set early, right? When in your tenureship at a club. And it's not being aloof or being so not available that you're excluding people. I think it's just communication. It's true communication. But also the other thing, Jennifer, is being able to say, unfortunately, I'm not available at those times and I don't have a time slot on a weekly basis, but I have strictest confidence that there is someone on this team that is going to exceed your expectations. And that's why you have to be meticulous with your hiring and not just fill open professional positions. It's like, I'm going to fill and hire people that are professionals and are going to be able to ensure that a member comes on the court and walks off the court saying, that was amazing. And not looking over at the next court, being like, that's the person I want to be with. And I'm a realist as well. People that are attracted to coming and having lessons with me are not attracted to another teaching style, and people that are attracted to going with another professional that's on the staff aren't attracted by my teaching style. You know what I mean? That's why you have diversity in your staff to hit every nail on the head, and because every member's wants and needs are different. So you just want to make sure that you're able to accommodate those.
Right. And I asked Jarrett this when I talked to him. What do you do when you're starting a new position? Some people like to start clean slate, bring in their own people, bring in their new staff. Others like to interview the pros that are there and give them a chance, see if they click or whatnot. How do you go about that when you're starting at a new club?
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, the thing that I do look at the most is the staff. And I mean, I'm right in the thick of it right now, Jennifer. So I can speak with very, very new perspective or very recent perspective. But the big thing is that for me, everyone that's on the current staff, I make sure that every one of them knows that they have complete job security and that I am not going to come in and clean house. I am not going to come in and fire people because people have said this pro is tired or doesn't try maybe it's the environment they've been in. Maybe it's the culture they've been in. Maybe it's the leadership that's been there that has not encouraged them, motivated them, driven them to be the best that they can be. So my number one thing is I go into a club and I ensure that I invest so much time, energy, and motivation into ensuring that every professional that's currently on staff is the best that they can possibly be. And then I look at the voids. I look at what needs to be filled. Does it need to be expanded? Are we not meeting lesson demands because we don't have enough staff? Are we not offering enough at undesirable times for professionals? Weekends, early mornings, night times, everyone's dream. I mean, every time I start a new position, before I arrive at the club, every professional that's on staff gets a questionnaire that I designed myself. And I ask questions like, what's your ideal work week? What are you currently working? What's your percentage preference between adults and juniors per week? And all sorts of different questions, right? And I'm like, what's your ultimate work week goal? Everyone, 9 till 5, Monday through Friday. It's like, of course, that'd be the dream, So, you look at it and you say, okay, well, this person's been there 15 years of tenureship. We can get close to those sorts of schedules. And then you hire and you bring people in that are motivated to be there at 6 a.m. with the working population and teach at 6 a.m. and on weekends. And one thing that I try and do is ensure that everyone has a 5-day work week with back-to-back days off, one of them being a weekend, so they have a balance of life. But they're also meeting their number of hours that they want to teach. So that's a fine balance there. The big thing is going in and seeing what the true needs are, but you can't make that assessment prior to getting there. You need to meet these people. You need to have exchanges with these professionals that are currently there one-on-one, but also as a unit and as a team. See if they are team players and team-oriented and are willing to succeed as a team and fail as a team. And then you can look at the dynamics of what needs to happen outside of that. But yeah, I don't come in with my people. I have people that I would like to hire, should the necessity be there. And I always have plan and that contingency plan. But if people are there and they love the club and they're on board with being a part of a team and team oriented, then I'll invest in you. But if you don't want to be part of a team, it's probably not going to be the right place for you.
And I think that's a quick way to get hated right away by your members. Because if they like a pro and now you're like, no, I'm going to do a clean slate just because it's, they're going to be pissed at you.
Oh my God, you're going to be upset because like I was talking about before, right? There's always certain people or certain members within a membership that like a certain personality in pro. And if a pro is teaching, just use round numbers, 30 hours a week, there's 30 hours worth of people that like that pro. They wouldn't go back to them if they didn't like them. If it's only 30 people, but that's 30 people that have a voice and an opinion. And if you let that pro go just because you need to open a slot up for someone that you want to bring in, you're starting by creating waves. But the other thing is, Jennifer, is like, I'm going to come in as director of racket. That's my title. That doesn't give me automated respect. I got to earn that respect. So it takes time. So if there's staff there that haven't necessarily respected a leader that's been there prior to an incoming leader, you got to earn their respect. And they might be a whole different professional once they respect you. You know, my personal things, I like to take time and I like to invest in the staff that's there and just see where I need to grow and develop and who I need to grow and develop from within and from without, or outside, I should say.
Yeah. And can you think of any red flags or maybe green flags when you're hiring staff?
Yeah. The amount of times that I hear pros say, that's my team, that's my lesson, that's my clinic. I'm like, no, it's not. You're part of a club. The club is, you are here for the club. The club is not here for you. And there's no ownership of this. If a member wants to take a lesson with another staff member, that's their prerogative. So if anyone is laying claim to aspects of programming and things of that nature, it's like, it's a red flag, Jennifer, but it's more of like, okay, we're probably going to not agree at the start here, and I need to get this person's mindset that, well, wait, if we all succeed within this program, the program's going to be better, rather than just if only I as an individual succeed. So that's a red flag, but the green flag is the opposite of that, is humility and wanting to be part of a team and making everyone around them better. And in the process, they'll become better and vice versa. They become better, everyone around them gets better. So it's one of those things for me where selfishness, entitlement, I think those are the two biggest ones. Yeah. They're red flags. Take, for example, when I got to River Oaks, it was really interesting to me. There was the staff was in a lot of disarray and it was an extremely negative environment. And I remember just walking around and there was tennis professionals, rackets professionals walking past members and not lifting their head from their phone and saying, hi, how are you? What a beautiful day. How was your tennis? Anything, right? And I do staff meetings every 2 weeks. And in one of these staff meetings I was so perplexed by it. And I said, so guys, it's really interesting to me. I see professionals walking around the courts of this big area, walking past members, but not greeting them and not saying hello or how are you or anything. And you actually don't even look up from your phone as you walk past this member. How do you explain that? Can someone give me a good reason? And one of the pros put their hand up and said, oh, that's simple. That's because I don't teach that member. And my eyes like bugged out of my head like a cartoon character, and I couldn't get angry or mad because this pro was just being so honest and so transparent. But to me, it was like, wait, just because they're not paying you to teach them, you're not going to like greet them? This is a member of the club, that's unacceptable. That's not how it works. So I think that it's bringing that cohesiveness and that chemistry and that culture within your staff. But some people just don't know any different, and so that's where being a true leader becomes very important.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I've seen that, by the way. I have had the same experience. I had some staff that was pretty young, I guess, and it was interesting because that was exactly what was missing. It was I was constantly telling them, like, you have to greet people. Mm-hmm. Before they even come to the door. Hey, Mrs. Such and such, how are you? Open the door. Like those are the things that members really appreciate. And it's really impressive to them. It's when you go out of your way to say, hi, how are you? How can I help you today? And I said that next summer, what I'm going to do is take my staff to golf, because on the golf side is like on steroids, mm-hmm. It's on another level. And I'm like, why can't we do the same thing at tennis, right? Like have the same kind of standard when it comes to just that customer service, that culture of we're here for you. Mm-hmm. We love seeing you here, always welcoming. And yeah, you should never just go past, even if it's a kid, like you should Hi, how are you? So good to
Oh my
see you.
gosh.
You're coming to hit with us.
There's no doubt. There's no
Yeah.
doubt. But isn't you take it outside of like rackets and the hospitality industry? Isn't that just like common human courtesy to say hello to someone and greet them? So the
Mhm.
fact that you're needing to say to a team member, can you please look at this member and say hello? That's mind-boggling, isn't it? And that's what I had here when I first got here. But it's really, but then there's an ease behind it as well, Jennifer, because you create standards and expectations, and they're a documented standard and expectation. And I have standards and expectations from Chatham Beach and Tennis Club, from the Dunes Club, from Duxbury Yacht Club, from River Oaks Country Club, and they're going to have them at Bentry Country Club. They're all different. They're all different because they're all the same, but they're different because they're nuanced to each and every club. And they're nuanced to what the seasonality of the club is or what the correlating standards and expectations of the members are. But the simplicity of greeting a member is just, it
Right.
was mind boggling to me. So, but it's also that thing where you need to create that culture and you need to create it by example, by leading, by being that person that walks around and has that energy. And, you obviously have it, but when your staff sees it, what they're going to start to recognize is that the impression that a rackets professional makes on the court is far outweighed by the impression they make off the court. And it's the extra small details and it's the extra small levels of hospitality that goes so far. And that's when the population of members starts talking and says, wow, it was so amazing being on the court with Chris. He's a very gifted teacher. He's great. He's fun. He knows his stuff. He makes it really, really cool, but he's got a dud of a personality off the court, Or it's like, well, Chris has got this huge personality on the court, but he is equaled off the court, and he makes you feel better. You feel more positive about yourself, who you are, how you are every time you cross paths with him. Over the course of time, that's when your popularity increases across the board. And I think that needs to be a thought process. It's not just like, well, I teach really good lessons. It's like, well, what's the whole experience that I create for this member?
And I guess that can be part of a conversation that you have with your staff about, where do you see yourself going in the future? Like, are you having a long-term vision of yourself in this industry? These are the things that you need to be doing, right, to have that kind of success. If you want to be teaching until you're 60, stuck on a court, just only teaching your people, quote unquote, your people, because you don't own anybody. Anybody can take a lesson from anybody, right? Then, maybe continue doing what you're doing and good luck because it's
Yeah.
not going to take you very far. Yeah.
But that's okay, though, isn't it? If someone says, look, I'm happy being an on-court professional and I'm actually really content and happy doing this long term, good for them. They've isolated what they want to do.
Yeah.
And I'm going to continue to grow and develop them no matter what they do, no matter what they want as an end goal. But on the converse of that, if someone says to me, I want to roll like yours one day, Chris, I want to be in that chair, whether it's at this club or another club of this magnitude, I want that, then I'm like, okay, let's do this. I'm going to give you all of the tools, all of the development, all of the growth, all of the materials, every resource that I can give you from within me, from the opportunity to continuing growth and development seminars, symposiums, conferences. I'm going to do that. And I'm going to work with you on how to interview, how to write your resume, how to write your cover letter, how to interview in a group setting, an individual setting. I'm going to grow and develop you in every aspect that it takes to attain a director's position, but then be successful at it. That's one thing. You can wow a search committee and come in and absolutely fail as a director, and you're out the next year. So not only is it how do I attain the position, how do I interview to impress and be offered the position, is now the hard work begins. Now this is where push comes to shove, and it's like, now I got to walk the walk, and what it is that I sold them on to hire me, I need to do more than that, and I need to exceed their expectations. That's the tools, growth, and motivation. I'm going to give you guys that.
Exactly. And I meant not just, moving up in the sense of like, oh, now you're a head pro, now you're a director, but in the sense of where you're working, right? Like if you're selfish like that, I think the only place that would work is if you have your own court. And
Right.
it's the thing that you're doing. But if you want to be a part of a team, a part of an organization, a big club, anything like that, you have to be a team player.
There's no doubt.
Yeah.
There's no doubt. Unless, Jennifer, everyone is on their own island and an individual pro kind of running their own business out of that club. And that happens in the private club industry. And it's just, That doesn't work, but if you're a part of a team and you're one of 15 professionals and you're the only one that doesn't really be part of that team and really embrace being part of that team, it's going to show anyway. Over the course of time, it's going to show. And the people and the membership are going to see it, and they're going to gravitate towards the unity of that positive team that is all striving for that same end goal, So that isolation you either get absorbed by the team, or it just singles you out and isolates you more and more and more. And unfortunately, it usually doesn't work out for that person.
Exactly. Okay, just kind of shifting topics here. How did you get involved with the Directors Club of America? What's the story there? How did that all come about?
It was really a very cool story. So I moved to Texas in 2019. Jarrett moved after I did. And I'd never met Jarrett. I'd never spoken to him. I just had kind of seen all his LinkedIn posts and things of that nature. And I knew he was moving to Texas. And moving a family is difficult. It's never easy. So I reached out to him and just said, look, I did the move to Texas, and I hope that is smooth for you and your family. And if there's anything that you ever need, just reach out to me. I'd be happy to help in any way that I can. Long story short here, Jennifer, we set up a Zoom meeting and we chatted for, I don't know, it was a long time. And at the end of it, I said, it's amazing to me how much we have in alignment. He said, yeah, I was thinking the same thing. And so we just kept on bouncing back and forth with communications. And then one day I said, look, I've got this vision, I've got this thought of having something that is really, really isolated and unique and directed towards the private club industry for leaders and for growth and development within it. And he goes, hold that thought, because I had the same thing and I was going to look to do it down the pathway with one of the governing bodies. And he said, no, I have another thought. And he told me it, and it was his vision of starting it ourselves as the Directors Club. And he said, are you on board? I said, 100% on board. So we started it in December of 2022, and I think that by the end of 2023, we wanted to have 250 members. By the end of 23, we had over 500 members. I think that we just eclipsed 1,000 members now. But we did a retreat in April 2024, and it was the first retreat that we did. It sold out really quickly. It was full of incredible leaders, but that was the first time I ever physically met Jarrett Chirico, is at that. At that retreat. So we launched Directors Club of America. We'd succeeded with memberships. We succeeded with all of the Zoom presentations and the guests that we had and the way that we flow in talking to the guests and the presenters. And I was walking across the lobby of the hotel and I heard my name and I turned around and there he was. And it was like that was our first actual meeting. So that's how it came about. It was just through reaching out from one professional to another and welcoming them. And that initial introduction just started a friendship and a respect. So it's something that we're all really proud of. It's something that we're happy that we're able to give back to this amazing industry and create this network of leaders that can all grow and develop and be there for each other. And it's a really cool membership and a cool thing to be part of.
Yeah. What's been your favorite part about it?
That's a tough. You immediately say the retreat, right? Because last year there was 125 leaders all in just doing what it is that our vision was, which was being there for each other and helping and growing and developing. And then there was all of the speakers and the panels that we had that were just off the charts. The huge achievement and such a big, proud moment. But I think it's the feedback. I think it's the amount of people, Jennifer, that have said, my gosh, we've needed this for so long. I'm so happy to be part of this. I'm so thankful for this. And this is exactly what I've been looking for. And the encouragement, there's no egos. It's just the encouragement of everyone for each other. So I think that that's really just like the proudest part of it. It's an amazing network and the vision has come to reality.
And where do you see it going in the future? Like, what's the vision, the big plan?
The thing is, we're not doing it for monetary value. There is no monetary value for myself, Michael, and Jarrett. And I don't know how many people know that, but like anything that we have that is a profit, it all gets invested into the retreat. It's not something that we're like, okay, how can we make money out of this? It's like, how are we making a difference? So I think it's continuing to make a difference and not saying, well, it's working, let's just keep it going. It's keeping it going and being dynamic. And what else can we do? What else does the industry leaders need? And being able to create that platform for their needs remaining ahead of the curve. And I think that's the real big picture. There's other aspects that can definitely be brought into DCA, but the primary thing is our members. How do we make sure that they're getting exactly what they need, and how do we continue to grow that and grow their experiences and what it is that they receive from being a member?
That's really cool. I will see you at the retreat, by the way. I'll be there. So I'm excited to go. That's going to be fun. And I'll tell you the same thing I told Jared. To me was like, why wouldn't you want to go and be in a room, like you said, full of people that are just dreaming big, doing big things in your industry? Why wouldn't you want to be a part of that? Because it's contagious. You just absorb that. So
that's such a good way.
Really cool.
That's such a good way of putting it. It is contagious. And I mean, the DCA was driven by all three of us. The retreat, I have no problem. Jarrett, that was his vision. He drove that, and he's a huge driving force behind that. And that was just taking the vision to the next level, right? We wanted a network and unity within the industry. Now bring everyone together. Isn't that just a simple progression? Yeah, but the amount of work that goes into making that happen, it was incredible what Jarrett did to make that happen and to be part of it. And we had 8 hours, I think it was, of panels over 2 days. And being on all those panels, you're sitting there with great people, and the amount of insight that you get is second to none. It's so invaluable.
You guys must not have any time off. Like you're both obviously busy. You're a huge club, huge programs, and you're doing this also. Where do you find the time?
Yeah, early in the morning. It's crazy how many messages are going between the three of us at 5 o'clock in the morning, and you make the time. You make it a priority. It's time management. But again, it goes back to what I was talking about being like that CEO mentality and having your long range planning and everything mapped out, and your organization being really, really far in front. And so you can create the opportunities to have the opportunities that you want. And that all it is foresight and organization.
Yeah. And okay, I always ask this question. So what's been the grand slam and the double bagel moment of your career? So your favorite high moment of your career and a not so great one, maybe.
Sadly, the not so great one has been working in 2 different clubs where the club owners were extremely toxic. It was a very, very negative experience. It made getting up and going to work and doing what I love something that I despised. So that was something that I knew I just had to get out of both times. And it was sad because they were really cool clubs, but they were ownership clubs. So there was no way out of it. So I think that I've had 2 clubs, so there's my double bagel. One bagel for each of those clubs. I think that would have to be it. I mean, the Grand Slam moment, there's been a few actually, Jennifer. I didn't mention it because it's a long story, but and not many people know about it. But when I was in California, due to different circumstances, prior to getting the job at Palm Desert Tennis Club, I was homeless, jobless, and carless. And I had $2.74 to my name. I had my bags, and that was it. And I had a friend that I said, "Can I stay with you for a week?" I said, "All I ask is that I can borrow your phone and be able to go through and make phone calls to all of the country clubs in the valley." And he was like, "Sure, go for it." Talk about a low point, right? Where the thought process is, well, let me call my mom or my dad and see if they can fly me back to Australia. I failed here. Or it's like, no, I'm going to put on my big boy shorts and I'm going to make this happen. I made it happen. And I didn't just get a job. I got a director position. So that there is a Grand Slam moment. It's because that was the start of where I am now, hands down. And I could have gone back to Australia and taught at the clubs there and done my thing, but that's a Grand Slam moment without a doubt. And I think the other Grand Slam moment is multiple moments of when I've had the opportunity to speak at master classes at the US Open, at the recent RSPA conference, World Conference there up on the stage, PTR conferences, and feeling like you're making a difference and that you're making a difference in the people that are there's lives professionally, but then having that quantified by them coming up afterwards and saying, that was amazing. I think that those are Grand Slam moments, making a difference in fellow driven professionals and leaders' lives. I think that that's pretty hard to beat, to be honest with you.
That's awesome. Do you have any upcoming speaking engagements?
Yeah, I have a speaking engagement in February for the RSPA in Texas. I'm really excited for that. I think that at a local level and at a regional level, it's just as important as a national or international level, right?
course.
I think that that's key. So I'm really excited for that. That's going to be in Plano, which is right next to my new club. But I also just got interviewed and I did a presentation for Tennis Australia interviewed me, and it's for an international coaching conference, which has over 4,000 people registered from, I think, over 60 countries. And that's so I recorded that 3 weeks ago now, and that will be seen and put out. That conference takes place during the Australian Open. So yeah, and then obviously we've got the retreat in the last couple of days in March and first days of April in Boca for the DCA. So obviously I'll be very hands-on there, and anything else that I can do to grow and help people, I'm more than happy to be able to get in front of them and do what I can.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Chris. Best of luck at Bentry. I can't wait to meet you in person and just get the report of, what your first couple months have been.
Looking forward to it. And Jennifer, thank you for having me, and just congratulations on all your successes as the director at Oyster Harbors and what you're doing with Vida Tennis. Just congratulations. You're absolutely knocking it out of the park.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Thanks.
My pleasure.
Thank you, everybody, for listening to Vida Tennis, and thank you, Chris, for your time. Enjoy watching the matches, the fashion, and the drama of the Australian Open. Enjoy watching the last football games of the season, too. Isn't it sad, too, that that's going to be over so soon? That's a great thing about professional tennis. It's a much longer season. All right, I will see you next time for more Vida Tennis. Until then.